So I was scrolling last night on YouTube, and the thing is, I saw the Backrooms movie on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube. I was looking through like YouTube videos to watch. Wasn't too late at night, but I was just looking. I actually saw like the whole Backrooms movie on YouTube. Someone literally took their camera to the movie theater and actually recorded themselves watching it. Well, not themselves, but they had the camera and they're holding it the entire time. I don't know why. I don't know how they didn't even get caught. But I was just looking and I was watching it too. Like it was the full movie from start to end, like literally. And I watched it. It was okay. It was an okay movie, but I was surprised that someone actually like recorded it on like their own camera. I don't know how they didn't get caught either. But they were smacking on some chips too. You could like hear them smacking on chips. But I was gonna I was gonna tell you about the Backrooms movie and tell you that I watched it through a YouTube video. And the start of the movie is like I don't know how to like it's an okay movie. It's not like a terrible movie. So basically there's this guy and he's having problems with like his marriage and he has to go see a therapist for it. And he talks about it with this therapist and stuff. He's also running a store, like furniture, and it's doing terrible. No one's going to it. He's doing advertisements and stuff. No one cares. So he's getting pissed off, and he goes down to the basement of his store, and he somehow manages to find the back rooms, like, because with the back rooms, I'm all about the back rooms. I love it. I'm a nerd on it. And he basically just he discovers it. He pushes in a wall, but he goes through a wall which is no clipping, which apparently his store's connected to the back rooms. So he goes through it and he's just like, holy crap. And then he goes exploring and stuff, and there's really not much to see because it's the back rooms. I mean, it's just a liminal space, nothing much to it. But he's exploring it and stuff. He's seeing some weird stuff. He doesn't know what to think, and the back rooms are supposed to be like you're not supposed to really understand it. So he explores, and whenever he gets done exploring, he hears a noise, and then he just I guess he says, "Nah, I'm good," and gets out. So there's these two other people that help him with his store with like ads, and he goes to these two people and say, "Hey, I need your help." They say, "What for?" "Just research purposes." Great explanation. And they go back to the store, and he's starting to just pack things up, and they're just like, "What the heck are we doing? I don't like this." He just like turns back to him, just like research. Nothing much to it. So he goes to his therapist too before this, and he tells her about this like space of like there's a store like with my store. There's another part of the store just goes on and on, and he goes like, "Do you believe me in a way?" And she's just like, "I don't really believe you. I'm not trying to tell you that you're crazy, but I just don't really believe you." Then, he's just like, he gets a little mad, and they talk about the marriage thing again, and they role play as like husband and wife in a way. And he's just like, "You know what? I'm gonna prove to you that this exists." So then we just fast forward back to the part where those three are together and they pack up to go to the back rooms with their cameras and stuff. Then the guy, the main character, protagonist, he goes through a wall, and the other two, the boy and the girl, just freak out. The one that helped him with the advertisements. They're just like, "Holy crap! Like, how'd you do that?" He's just like, and he's on the other side. He's somehow talking through the wall, which I don't know how it's possible, but you know. And then they finally then go through the wall and just like they're mind blown, just like they don't know what to think. So the guy also then leads them to this part of the back rooms that is just like I guess you can say it's like a box area with the opening. Then there's like a deep slope. Then the guy was just like, okay, I want you to go down there because I don't know what's down there. I want you to go see. The guy was just like, I don't know about that. And the girl was just absolutely losing it, just like, no, do not go down there. You have a choice. But he goes down there. He looks around. There's just garbage and crap. Then there's like a flicker in the light in the background because there's like, you know how the backgrounds, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, there's a door here. There's like weird looking entrance over here. Then there's like this entrance over here that's just like, it flickers with the light. And then you see this silhouette of an entity. And he's just like, oh, heck no. I'm out. Then he tries to go back up. He tugs on the rope because they sent like a rope around them and all that. Then, see, the thing is, they extended the rope. This is where I don't understand. They pull him up, right? They get him out of there before the entity does. The thing I don't understand is how, like, the rope is staying down there even though they pulled him up. Like, how much rope did you need? And then the entity then starts pulling on the rope, and then they try to save him. He's just like hanging on the walls, just like for freaking dear life. And then they pull him in, like the entity does. He dies, but the other two also get pulled in because they're trying to like hang on to him for like dear life. Nah, they all get pulled in. Then the girl is also trying to save him, not the main character, but the one that got snatched. And there's this little door that just opens like this. He gets pulled into it. He dies. And the girl goes after him too, and I'm pretty sure she dies too. But then the guy's stuck down there because there's this bed that was up there with him that just closes the door. So then the guy's stuck down there. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really know what happens after that. But basically he explores the back rooms and they go through different levels. I think it's like 4 different levels they went to. He just opens doors and eventually he finds himself in the pool room, where the pools are and stuff. And then he eventually hears the girl on a different side of the wall. Then somehow he can't see her, but she can see him. I was thinking it was an entity, but nah, the entity was actually behind him. But the entity wasn't talking. The entity doesn't talk. And then the entity picks up the camera, and then he looks back, and then it cuts off. And I don't really remember what happens after that. But I do remember that the therapist then goes after like the guy who's missing, which this is a short film. It's like an hour and 45 minutes long, so it's nothing much to it. But then the therapist goes and she discovers the back rooms, and she's like, "What the heck?" And she has a lot of past traumas and stuff, like her mother being like schizophrenic or a drug addict, and she has her like locked up in the house, and she's like, "You can't leave. You're never leaving." And then I don't know what else happens to her, but it doesn't really explain much except like she has a lot of trauma. She goes into the back rooms and she meets up with him, but there's this painting on the wall with like a demon and just like people around it. And the demon's like ascending someone to some like door in the sky or something, I don't know. And then she is just looking and she catches a glimpse of like a little shadow. And you think it's the entity, but nah, that's him. But he's acting really suspicious. This is where I don't understand. There's like a gap of the movie that doesn't really make sense. Then he comes out finally and says like, "Shh, you don't need to be like talking too loud." This is like where you think, okay, so he's aware there's an entity. And then for some reason he just like he chokes hold her. He knocks her out. But you also hear the entity coming, but you don't see it because she gets knocked out and stuff. And then it cuts to a part where they're even deeper into the back rooms, but they're in this little room that's kind of like built like a house in a way. And it is a house later on. Then he starts just acting so weird, as if his mind's been like brainwashed or something, but you didn't realize he was like trying to pretend like everything's normal because this entity is actually him, but it's like a skinwalker version of him. And he's just trying to act like everything's fine, everything's good, there's no change needed to be made. And this is the part of the backrooms that just doesn't make sense. But you know, it's a movie. You know, not every movie is gonna be accurate or correct. So then this creature just starts walking up to him and is just like, hey, don't worry. You know, we don't want change. This is great. And before that happens, there's like three people. And apparently they're copies of their old self and they look all screwed up and one of them has six eyes. Another's like a dwarf with like a weird face, and then there's another woman that has like half a normal face and half a face that has like three faces. That makes sense. And then apparently they're living, but you can eat them. He takes like there's a fat guy that's sitting at the table with them. He literally takes like his hand and grabs like a piece of his stomach, but it's not flesh. It's literally like pure sugar, like just pure sugar. Like there's a hole in his stomach and he's just made out of pure sugar or something. He just like puts the pure sugar on her plate and his plate. They don't eat it, but you know he was just saying like, oh, you know they're real, but they do what you want. Really, they just stand there in a way. So then back to the monster thing, like the monster finds them. I guess it's because like he was trying to act normal, but he wasn't in a way. It doesn't make sense. And then the monster picks him up like really weirdly, and then he just looks at him, and then the monster takes a bite out of his shoulder, eating him alive. And then the girl was just like, "Holy crap!" Which the guy tied him up and all that before all this, and he undid the ties before the monster came. And then she then sneaks around the monster while he's getting devoured and obliterated, which the main character's dying over here, which is they're all practically dead. Then she runs, and then the monster starts chasing her too, which the monster's slower than a freaking snail. Which the monster is literally him, but in a pirate suit with a peg leg. Because he was cosplaying as like a pirate in his ads, because his store is based on like, I don't know, pirate stuff. And then she runs through like different rooms of the back rooms. Not different levels, but just different places. And then eventually she finds these people in these yellow suits. And we're at the end of the movie, and these people see her, and then, oh yeah, before all that, in the middle of the chase, there's like this trap, and I'm explaining this terribly, I'm sorry. And then there's this trap while she's running away. She trips on it. Then there's these like fire extinguishers all over. They start shooting gas, which doesn't affect nothing. And then the creature's just like falling over. The creature gets back up. She gets a pole, whacks the peg leg off the creature. Now the creature's just like on there, but it's still crawling. Eventually gets on top of her. Now the creature's too stupid to realize to just like punch the head into her. But the creature punched the crap out of the other character and stomped on him. But this creature, apparently she has plot armor. Everyone else didn't, but she does. Even though she's not the main character. Makes sense, doesn't it? And then she eventually gets this like little rock that has her handprint on it from whenever she was a child. She has had it with her ever since for good memories or something. She begins to bash its head in, but you know how you're in a dream and you take the rock or you try to like punch something in your dream, but it's just like, eh. That's how it was with her. She took the rock and she was just like, eh, eh. Like she couldn't do anything. Like she was so weak, it was pathetic. Now, somehow the monster still just like, eh, just caved in. But it wasn't dead though. Then she just pushed it off. And then she started running again. Then we're back to people in the yellow suits. They shoot the fire extinguishers that they had, and then eventually one of them or the rest of the team is just like, hey, stop, stop, stop. as a human. It's just like, okay, my bad. And then she passes out. She is then brought into this like backrooms facility, where this facility is connected to backrooms where these researchers research the facility or the backrooms. And she's then brought into questioning and stuff. And this is at the end of the movie. She's then asked questions about like, what did you see, how'd you get there and stuff. And then she finally asks like, what's gonna happen to me since I know all this. The researcher's just like, that's not for me to know. That's not my choice. And then, bam, we're at the end of the movie. She became one of those like people with like the one normal face and three faces, and I don't know. That's the end of the movie. Like I said, it was a weird movie. It was all right. I mean, I give it like a 6.5 out of 10 or something, you know. But it was a decent movie. I just got caught off some. My storage is apparently full. That's not good. But yeah, the Backrooms movie was decent. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't that bad. It was. They kind of got the concept of it, but it didn't make sense because everyone at the end dies, basically. Okay. Well, my powers almost went out. Okay, well, I have to end the video then. But yeah, Backrooms movie, it was decent. It was alright, but, it wasn't anything crazy. But that's all I'm gonna be talking about today. I love you. Jesus loves you. I'll see you.